iRealPro and GarageBand, both fantastic bits of software, but can I open something that I've made in iRealPro or something that's there already in GarageBand for iOS? Yes, you can. Here I am then with my little iPhone SE, which has got iRealPro on it. I'm having to video the screen because, bless its heart, the screenshot is not really quick enough anymore. But I need to send this chart to GarageBand for iOS for further recording or tweaking of the instruments, or indeed coming up with your own backing tracks, your own arrangements, which maybe iRealPro wouldn't be that capable of doing. Now, if I go to the top right here, on the top right of the screen, there is an arrow which allows me to export this. Just before that, I'm just going to play a section of it so you can hear what it sounds like on the phone. So I've got drums, bass, and like a rhythm guitar. So I need to export this. Share audio. Now that's slightly misleading because actually MIDI is not audio, but it's rather the notes that make that audio file actually work. So if I go to MIDI now, I'm going to airdrop it to my iPad. And it doesn't take very long because it's a MIDI file. So we've finished with the phone now. Let's go to the iPad. So this is the screen that comes up. It's got minor swing DFB12, whatever that sort of means. But I'm going to put it in GarageBand file transfer. Now that's on my iPad downloads, and then there's a GarageBand for iOS, and then GarageBand file transfer in there. So I'm going to save it. This is really easy because MIDI is tiny. As you can see, it's 59 kilobytes. That's not very much. So if I go now to the, I'm going to go to, where am I going to? GarageBand. There we go. Trouble with all these devices, you end up sort of swimming in a sea of programs and apps and everything else. Now, first of all, we need to add a track just to the working space. This is so that you can actually open up the GarageBand file with these little, that little sort of brick wall symbol there. Now I've got this. Now if I go to the top here, you can see there's a little number 1 under the loops banner here. If I go in there, I've got minor swing, which I'm going to drag in just to the top left here, not on the actual audio track, but just below it. And there is your MIDI file that's just opened up there. It really is that simple. Now, just before we sort of sign off with, oh yes, everything's lovely, there will be a few things that you may have to tweak in order that this works. Now, first of all, if I open the mixer window, you can see that each track has got an automation symbol on it. This is just a default thing that iRealPro has obviously sent it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch automation off for each of these tracks, just so that I can play with volume levels and you won't be sort of thinking, why isn't anything changing? There we go. So I've got now no automation at all. You can obviously reinstate that if you choose. So I'm running a bit of a risk with 10% battery there. So if I just press play from the beginning, this is what it sounds like. Okay, that was quite loud, so I'm just going to take the volume down of that, and as you can hear, it's rather different. We've got a massive drum doing the counting. Obviously, one or two things got lost in translation there. Now, what we can do is here, we've got the taiko drums at the bottom, which are the counting at the moment, which is fairly dramatic and sort of ceremonial. We've got to get rid of that. Now, if I just go on to here, I'm going to go into the edit window of the drums, and we're going to see if there's a sound that's a little bit better. So on the left hand side you can see all the sounds. They're very, very small symbols, but the top one looks pretty good. So I'm going to move this one to there and then grab the others, which are just above it, and move them down. So we end up with this now. That's slightly less dramatic. Okay, so we've got the drums, bass, and a guitar sound. There's for some reason a piano sound here, which is just been introduced for some reason. However, we can use that. We can actually use that. If I just delete that little bit, we need, maybe it'd be nice to have a piano sound that goes along with this. How are you going to do this? Well, you need to refer back to the chord chart that you're working with. So this might need a little bit of programming in, but it's A minor, D minor and E7. Those are the three chords that are on the chord chart. And I've purposefully picked this one because, well, not only is it a good tune, but actually it's quite easy to sort of get the understanding and the principles required to actually make this work. So if I go to the piano sound, at the moment it's a standard standard piano keyboard. Now for some reason I can't hear it. Now this is where the automation comes in, because actually what's happened is it automated it to be 0 volume. So if I just go back into the piano, you should hear it now. Fine. If I go to the chords, we need A minor, D minor and E7. Well, I've got A minor and D minor, but E minor, I don't want that. So if I go to the cogwheel top right and go to edit chords, I can change this chord of E minor to an E7. And there we go. That's what I need. So if I go from the beginning then and press record, I can actually play some chords along with this. Okay, so I've got my little intro there and I've just tapped the chords into some sort of swing rhythm. Of course, I can go in and quantize that because it wasn't quite there. So I'm going to go to swing and 8th swing heavy, and that should tie that piano up quite nicely. Now at the moment the drums have got a sort of a tom sound. Do I want that? Well, I don't know. However, we are on a drum track here, a drums track. What we can do is we can add a drummer here to actually make that sort of a little bit more jazzy and maybe a little bit more realistic. Now you can, of course, keep both. So if I go to acoustic drummer, I've got to maintain at the bottom swing none. If I go to 8th swing heavy, like that, it means that I've got the same sort of quantization that I had before. So how would this work then? It's a little bit rocky for my taste at the moment for the genre, so perhaps I should go into here and just have a little adjustment of the drums. So I'm just going to solo them out, go into here, and I want something that's less complicated and a bit quieter. I also want my cymbals rather than the hi-hats, and maybe a slightly simpler kick and snare drum with no fills. Now, of course, the drummer regions, there are more than one that it puts on, and of course I'm only adjusting the first one, but I can loop it afterwards. I don't like the bass at all because actually the double bass is dum 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 dum, it's carrying the beat. So I can just take the bass drum away, leaving just the ride cymbal and the snare. That's fine. Okay, I'm going to take that metronome away before it drives me around the twist. And I'm going to just close this up slightly and actually get rid of what was there before, afterwards rather, so that I can keep the drums the same. So there's quite a lot going on there. Of course, it will export however long you've exported the track for on iRealPro. So perhaps if you made it play once only, you wouldn't end up with all of this stuff here, but that's fine. You can get rid of stuff as you want. So I've now got my drums as a loop. I can obviously bring those up in level to hear the ride cymbal a bit. I could even take the drums down slightly on the original. okay, and that's fine. Now, of course, you can then play along with your own performances. I've got my, here we go, this will do. So obviously I'm going to hear it through the speakers slightly, but I'll just try playing along with the audio recorder. Okay, so here we go. And there we go. There is a way of getting all of this to work in into GarageBand. Now that guitar sound, I could put another instrument in because it's a little bit ding, 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 ding. Maybe if I use something like a Fender Rhodes, for example, I could actually drag that guitar track down onto the piano sound there. So I've got something that's a little bit more gentle. There you go. iRealPro to GarageBand iOS. It's not only possible, but extremely effective.